Good morning, everybody. Happy Friday. Welcome to The Pursuit. Today, I am joined by the Savage CEO, and I love that as a description of your name. Is that okay to call you that? It's Sam Abbitt. Welcome to the podcast.
Hey, glad to be here. Thanks for having me on.
That's got to be how you introduce yourself, right? I'm the Savage CEO.
That's right.
Is
I
that
like
the
it.
only reason? The only reason you named it the Savage Race, so you could say that?
Oh gosh, man. I just thought it was an awesome description of the type of vibe and attitude that what I assumed our customers would be like when we started this company before we had any customers. And
Yeah,
I think it was a great name. Name stuck. People love it. People like being called savages.
yeah,
We're all
that's great.
savages, man. Yeah,
So I always start this off the same when I meet people, especially business owners and entrepreneurs like yourself.
yeah.
And I kind of want to know, like, back before all this, back before you had businesses, what was your dream? What did you want to do with your life? Where did you see yourself, you know, the age you're at now, for example?
Yeah, totally, man. So, somewhere around the age of 20, maybe 19 or 20, I realized that I really wanted to pursue business. I wanted to own some sort of business. I didn't know what it was, but I knew that I didn't want to. I just wanted to kind of make my own way, whatever it was. Um, and also, I was very interested in just accumulating assets, right? Like, I
Mhm.
know this isn't really like a financial show, but I mean, you asked. So, um, I read a book way back when called Rich Dad Poor Dad, and it really kind of set me down the path of like, what am I going to do to save, to accumulate assets, to have my money work for me? Okay, and so
Mm.
that ultimately led to I need to have a business. And
Mhm.
so, yeah, like I had businesses from when I was a child. Like I created a neighborhood newspaper, and I would try to sell them door to door, 5 cents. This is like when I was maybe 8 or 9 years old. And then as I got older, when I was in college, I had a little business assembling pool tables for a local retailer in people's homes. And then I got into construction, and I was working for a construction company for a while and like getting graduate degrees, stuff like that. But I knew I was like deep down, I was like, this, I'm not really cut out to work in a corporate environment. And so I started Savage Race when I was about
Mm.
28 years old. What I did, I went to it was very early days for this industry. This was 2011. It was February, I want to say like into January, early February 2011. I went to the Warrior Dash, Florida, in Lake Wales, Florida, and they had like 20,000 people there. And it was just like, I looked around, I was like, man, I do what a lot of people do when they go to events. They do the quick back of the napkin math. They have no idea how much these events, how difficult they are to put on or how much they cost to produce. But they can like easily go, hey, I paid $100 for this race. There's 20,000 people here. Like that's, $2 million or whatever.
Right.
And so they think this is a great way to get rich, right? But they ignore like all the risk and all the cost and everything else that goes into it, right? And so
Yeah.
anyway, I did the event. My wife was there with me, and she kind of at the time she was my girlfriend, but she knew that my dream was to open some sort of business, and so she said, "This is the one," and I said, "Let's do it." So, having that construction background, I felt like I could do a better job than the offerings that were out there, like Warrior Dash and others, because I knew how to build stuff, I had contacts, and so we just went for it. Uh, so, like I said, that event was at the end of January, and we had our first race in Central Florida on August 27th of the same year, which is crazy to think about. We went from zero, like literally like no business, to first race, several thousand people showing up at some property somewhere, um, uh, and had really no idea. Like the people myself included, and everyone that I hired, like none of us knew anything, had any industry experience in any kind of racing event. Um,
Right.
and so we would just kind of shot from the hip and did our best. And it was like, okay. I mean, we had some serious problems at that first event, but we just learned. And every time we would do an event, we would learn from our mistakes and make it better. So here
Yeah.
and we are. And a lot of those people that worked at those early events are still on our team. Like there's a guy in my company named Alex. He responded to a Craigslist ad. He was a he was in college at the time, and we just said, "Hey, we need someone to go fly our cars at some other event." And he did that. And now he's one of our marketing managers and very important part of our team. He still works for us. So anyway, I don't know if that answered your question, but I've just, to sum it up, I've always wanted to be in business.
Yeah.
Um, and this is one of my businesses, and it's been a very fun journey.
So looking back, you said you were, I mean, it sounds like you were an entrepreneur, like what you said, 8, 9 years old.
Yeah, I don't think I knew that I was,
Yeah.
but it was just like it just felt natural. Like my dad had a computer in our house back when people didn't really have computers, and so I like to play on that. It had a word processor, and um, you know, I just started typing stuff, and I recruited all my friends from the neighborhood. I was like, okay, you're going to be in charge of writing the comics. You're going to write the news. You write the weather. And so we brought together the kids, and we all produced this little. It was basically just a text document,
Hmm.
and and we printed it out on printer paper and just walked around the neighborhood selling them. Yeah.
And what age did you read Rich Dad Poor Dad?
I don't know. I think I was in either elementary, I think I was in elementary school or middle school. I don't remember exactly.
Okay. And based on that book, not based on like other
Oh, the
people's
book.
ideas, did you have, was in your house, did you have a rich dad or did you have a poor dad based on that book?
Oh, well, so my parents are both university professors. My father is an aerospace engineer, teaches that at the University of Florida. My mom's a radiologist, and she teaches at the medical school here. So they're both, I would say, career oriented in that way, and
Yeah. And
they
that's how the
they
book describes them, right? That would
right
say, the book
they
would say
say
that's a poor dad.
yeah, I didn't really want to call them that, but like yeah,
No.
like I would say that like they both have jobs, but I will
Yeah.
say that like they're both also it's very important to them to save and build wealth. Like my mom's really into real estate, so that was cool to watch
Yeah,
growing
yeah.
up.
I mean, as you know from reading the book, if anybody's read the book, they know that this is not a judgment on other people. This is just saying like you're the first entrepreneur. You're like like there's you didn't grow up in an entrepreneurial household where it was just like, oh, I'll just do what dad does. It
Yeah,
was you,
not really.
yeah.
Yeah,
And that's because I'm the same. My parents both had jobs, and they were like they wanted you to get a career for life. You know what I mean? Find something safe and go down that path. And nothing in my, the way I grew up, like realizing that I could, pretty similar, I could go around, knock on doors and wash cars and make money. For me was like, okay, where is this going to take me? You know what I mean? So that entrepreneurial spirit
yeah,
wasn't something that I'd seen in my house, but it was something that I was like excited to come to America and find out.
yeah, totally, man. So like if you're cut out for it, and it's not for everybody, but if you're cut out for it, there's really no other way. You know.
Hmm.
It's,
Yeah, I can't imagine now. I don't think it'd be possible for me to go back and work for somebody else. Like now I've seen that, like you just said, you had an idea for something, you created it in your mind, and then a few thousand people came to the first one. That's incredible. And just like, even if 10 people showed up, you've still seen that you could build something that other people want to pay for. And you know what I mean? Like, I don't know about you, but I grew up in kind of a house where it was, you don't think that the other people that have started these businesses are real people because you never really see them, right? Like you don't believe that Nike really started with one shoe. You think it was, oh, it's just this massive company that nobody can now do. But once you realize that you've just got to start small, you can do it too. It kind of changes the way you look at everything
yeah,
in my world, right?
absolutely. I agree with that 100%. And even thinking about like starting a company like Savage Race, now. You know, it's like
Mhm.
there I don't know that I could do it again for with this company. I mean, I could start a different business, sure, and I have actually, but like with Savage Race, if I had to start all over again, I don't even know if I could. I mean, there were certain things that happened when they happened and we got lucky on things, and I think a big part of it was just the timeline and getting started when we did.
That's
So
funny. It's interesting that you say, lucky and stuff like that. Um, I've looked through the kind of the history. You said it started in 2011. There was one race in Florida, and
correct.
then the next year, 2012, two races in Florida too, right?
Yep.
And then I looked at last year, and it's 2024. There was 14 races, and you had an annual attendance of over 100,000 people at the races. That's what I got from the website. I don't know if that's correct, but to go from 2011, so that's like 10, 13 years,
Yeah.
to 14 races and 103,000 people. Um, you said we got lucky. I know in that time there was a pandemic and all kinds of stuff. So like it's pretty amazing where you're at still and keeping going. Like
Yeah.
how do you keep that energy for something like this for
Dude, we
13
just
years?
don't stop. We just keep moving forward. That's really all you can do. And I mean, you work hard. You work harder than your competition. I've always been very focused on pushing this company ahead. I say I've always been. There's definitely been ups and downs. Like as a business owner, and I'm sure you know this. Like you're gonna have bad days. You're gonna have time period where you question yourself and there's self doubt, but you just keep powering through it, and you get through those times. Um, the 100,000 on our website is a little bit overstated right now. We probably did, with if you include spectators and everything, 30 or 40,000 last year.
Hmm.
Um, just off the top of my head, that number on our website hasn't been updated since pre-COVID stuff. We the In 2020 when we had the shutdowns for COVID, since you brought that up,
Yeah.
that was a very very difficult time, and there
Hmm.
was I wondered if we would even be able to keep the business open, and we just worked really hard. We were the first race to really come back. Um, and we had to shut down a bunch of our events, and it was very stressful because people had prepaid, and we had to figure out like, well, what do we do with these people? Are they all going to demand refunds? Like we're not going to be able to give them refunds because we have these costs for these events that have happened or will happen, and we're on the hook for. But we navigated all that, and gosh, man, that was tough because we had to we had to convince all these property owners, all these participants, all these places that give us permits for events that, hey, we're going to do this thing when no one else is doing. I don't know if you remember, but they had like what do they call it? Like essential businesses. So
Yeah.
we were as far from being considered an essential business as you could get. Like, no, everyone's like, why would you need to go run an obstacle course race? That's not essential. So what that means is that like we're out of business. So we were like, in the beginning, I kind of was like, okay, we need to like pause, rethink, but I pretty quickly kind of changed my mind on what we needed to do, and came to the conclusion that screw that, we're going to have these events. Like social distancing, whatever, our customers can decide for themselves what they want to do, if they want to show up or not, but like we're having the event, and the people
Yeah.
that want to come, they come, and we're going to do it. And so
Yeah.
that's what we did, and a lot of people thought we were crazy. We were told that we were being reckless and irresponsible and putting people's lives in danger or whatever. Hey, I got a payroll, I got a bunch of people I don't want to have to fire and lay off just because, and there was plenty of people that wanted to come to these events, so we did it, you know.
Yeah, and also, I mean, looking back at that time, that was you'd been doing it for 9 years, right? And you'd built your business, well, 8 years, say 2019. It was the start of 2020 when everything kind of closed down. You've been doing it for 9 years. You'd gone from, is that when you were like from 1 to 14 races a year and you were all over? Have you been mostly on the East Coast?
Yeah, mostly East Coast, but we
Yep.
do events in like Illinois and Texas, Ohio. So
Cool.
not
Yeah.
not fully East Coast, but we've kind of stuck to this region. I mean, most of our people live in Florida, not all, but it's just been, it's we've talked about expanding, and if we added more events, we may move further west. But for now, we're kind of mostly East Coast, and it works for us.
Yeah. So that time, yeah, like I was in the gym industry, obviously. Same thing, not considered essential. And after building, I think we were on year 5 or 6 at that point, and we were ready for the best year of our, business. And I'm sure you were the same. My wife was 8 months pregnant or something like that. We were expecting our first kid, and it was like everything went from we're ready for the best year to absolutely zero. And our credit card processing company said they were holding our money for like 90 days because they
Oh
didn't
my!
think anybody was going to pay. So that's the one moment I remember the most, and thinking like, okay, what's next? What are we going to do? And like you said, you'd built that thing for 9 years there. Then you've got this time. You don't know if, I don't know about you, but you don't know if you have the energy to go back to the start when it first hits, right? Because you've been like 7 days a week, 21 hours a day for most of it. For me, I don't know if it was the same for you, right? Like just
In the
push it,
beginning,
push and
yeah.
push and push it. And then you get to a point where you're like, okay, I can see the light. And then it's like, okay, now go back to the start. And for me, it was interesting because I was like trying to process it for a while. And then eventually I realized this is the game that you're in, right? This is what you chose. This is entrepreneurship. Either you want to do it or you don't. There is another option. And like the other option is you go find a job. I have a master's degree. I saw you have a master's degree. Plenty of places will hire you.
Yeah.
And then finally I was like, no, this is actually what I want to do. And all the lessons of the last 10 years that I've learned now in business, and I'm sure you can't buy them lessons, right? Like whatever I do next or whatever this ends up, it's only going to be better for me in my life. The circumstances are what they are, and that's just money. But we can build something back because I'm not going to forget what I've learned over the last 5 years. Is
No.
is that
Absolutely.
where you ended up? Like, how long did it take you to get to
I,
that place where you
I
kept going?
I'll tell you this, man. That I went to some dark places in my mind along that journey, and it was like I said earlier, like putting one foot in front of the other and keep moving. I mean, there were some things that happened that just me mentally, like that was such a hard thing. I mean, you got to realize, man, like you said, it was you're facing your best year ever. So we had pre-sold millions of dollars of tickets. Okay, so like that's a lot of money for me. Like that's significant. Like and I mean, well, I'm just saying that because I think sometimes people look at these businesses and they go, okay, well, like Savage Race is pretty big, like a couple $1 million, they can probably handle that. But it's like, no, like that's real deal. Like I'm screwed kind of money.
Right.
And I had sold these tickets, and like these people that bought these tickets, these are people I know, like I go to these events, I shake everyone's hand, like a lot of them are my friends, and it's like I have their money right now and I can't give it back to them. I got to figure out how to do these events. When I say I have the money, it's like I have most of it, but a lot of it's been committed to events. I have to pay for marketing to get the people to sign up. So it's not like, I have payroll. So I have to do the event, right? And so when I thought that maybe that wasn't going to happen, it just was so hard. And like I had to really kind of, me and my team, we had to kind of really think way outside the box to figure out how to get through that. And we did. And I think we came out and just, it was out the other end where it was just proof of what we were able to do, and we came out way stronger. I mean, I don't
Yeah.
know about you, but like when you look inward at yourself as a person, are you a better person now? Did you change any like habits or just things you do? Because I like for me definitely, and so I'd be interested to
Yeah.
hear about. I mean, I'll just tell you real quick. For me, like I stopped drinking, so I gave it up, man. I was just like, this is not good for me. Like I was never, I mean, I was never like I never had like a big problem, but it was just like, this is just something I don't need in my life, and I'm going to stop doing it. And it's going to make me more effective as a person. It's going to make me a better husband, a better father, a better business owner. So I quit that. I started another business shortly after COVID, that's been very successful. I started jujitsu, training physical combat with people. I'd go 3 times a week, weightlifting. I'm in much better shape. I used to be a little bit overweight. I'm in better shape because of it. And so, like, I credit a lot of that towards that period where it's like I basically found a bottom. I looked at myself in the mirror and I'm like, I'm either like everything's going to shit, or I'm just gonna pull myself out of this and be like 1,000 times stronger. And so that's what I picked. So I wonder, like, and honestly, man, this is so cool to hear your story, because I had never, I don't know you. Like, we've never had I don't know if people know this, but neither
Yeah,
of us have
first
ever had
time.
a conversation before now. So I didn't even know you were a business owner or an entrepreneur. Like, literally, we knew nothing about each other.
Yeah.
So I'm really curious to know, like, did you have any moments like that where you pulling yourself through?
Yeah, a lot. Like I said, it's probably I've had a couple of times in my life when I first opened a business and then during COVID where I've felt anxiety. And like, I guess I'm lucky that that happened in my mid and then late 30s. And I'd never felt it before. I was like, I think I'm having a heart attack. And someone was like, no, it's just the first time you've felt stress like this, you know? And I was like, oh, okay, cool. Now, and I remember it's taken me 4 years or whatever it's been to process and understand what I went through. But like, I'm the thing that I'm most grateful for, and it's something that you said, is being able to look inward and understand that all the business stuff is not real and the money's not real. And I was about to be a father, and I then got to prioritize being a dad, which I don't know if I would have done that because I was so focused on success, right? Like, I was so focused on wanting to grow the business. I was so focused on wanting to provide and be this big provider that I lost sight of what this podcast is. What I try and talk to entrepreneurs about now is like, there's no happiness at the end of this. There's no like magical pot of gold at the end of the rainbow that's going to make everything right. And then I started being able to find happiness in day to day stuff. And I've, because of what happened, I think I've been a more present dad. I've been a more present husband. I've been there for everybody. And I've prioritized the relationships in my life that are both ways and not based on me being the business owner. And like, I'm not trying to get anything from relationships. I just want friendships and I want real relationships and stuff like that. So that's what happened for me over the last 5 years, 4 years. And like, monetarily, been in the worst position of my life for the last 4 years. But in terms of like knowing where I want to go and knowing where I want the next 10 years of my life, I think I'm in a much better position than I was before it happened. So,
Yeah, that's awesome, man. And like what you said about there not being a pot of gold is really interesting, and that resonates with me for sure, because you think when you're getting started, it's like, okay, well, if I get to this much in sales, or if I have like this much in my bank account, or whatever it is, it's like now everything will be good. But and
mhm.
then you get there and you're like, okay, like yeah, it's not necessarily fulfilling. Like it's the moments, like you mentioned, like you got to find happiness in the present, right? It's
Yeah.
like right now, like what's in your life? Like, I got 2 kids that I love. I got a wife that I love. I got, I got great companies and with employees that I love. And so you got to find happiness in those things along the journey. Otherwise
Yeah,
you're just,
because look at what you did. Like, you built something from one race to 14 races, from a couple of thousand people to at the height, probably 100,000 people going through it. And then 2020 happens and you go, "Oh, I'm at zero. I've done nothing." No, you haven't done nothing. You just back here, but you haven't done nothing. Like, you've done a lot. And what I realized was I came to America to try and be a professional basketball player. I'm 5'9". I'm from England. And all I wanted to do was try and pursue that, right? In that pursuit of doing that, I missed every day that I was doing it because I was only focused on where I wanted to go. And then looking back, I'm like, why did I not enjoy that more? I was in some of the best situations of my life, but all I was doing was trying to move on to the next one.
hmm,
And I want now to be as successful as possible. I want as many gym locations as I can. I want to just keep any opportunity that comes up that I'm excited about. I want to jump into it. And I want to set my family up. I want to be able to retire my parents. I want all them things, but I'm not solely focused on them things. I'm going to enjoy the journey as we go. And I don't know if it matters where I end up, but I'm going to enjoy it. And I'm just going to go and I'm only going to go down paths that I want to do. That doesn't mean they're going to be easy, right? I'm not going to take the easy route on any of them. I like doing hard things. It's why I'm talking to you. It's why you created the Savage Race. We know that we can do hard things, but I'm going to enjoy the journey a little bit more. And I think that's what 2020 taught me. Um, yeah, hardest years of my life when I look back. But I think there's going to be more of them as I try and do bigger things, right? Like
Absolutely.
there might be something that comes up that's harder than 2020, and I'm willing to go for it.
Yeah. So there's a I didn't make this up, but there was a book I read, and I think it was by a guy named Ryan Holiday or Halliday, and
Yeah.
he talks about the obstacle being the way, and that the idea that like if this path was easy, it's like, well, then there's everyone could do this, but like your as a business owner, your competitive edge is your ability to overcome obstacles, right? So like that's actually what sets you apart is how you approach and get past these hard things in life, and it's why at the end of it you're the last man standing and are successful because no one else could pass that test, right? So like
Well, yeah, and that's the lesson that I get from doing your races, right? Is it's hard work. There's obstacles. It's fun. Yeah, it's fun, but it's hard. You're not guaranteed to get through any of them obstacles. No one's gonna, you know, tell you did great if you fell off as soon as you tried to grip it, right? Like you got to get to the other side of that obstacle, and then if you don't, come back and try and get it next time. There's no like, oh, it's okay. It's okay if you think it's okay, but if you want to come back
make
and
it
get
easier.
it, I'm gonna push you to get it. And
Yeah.
then the best moment of them races for me is we live in such a world of comfort that like every day I can get in the shower. But when I finish one of your races, it's the best shower I've ever had in my whole life. Like it's the best. And like you feel accomplished. You got a few bruises, cuts on your knees, you're covered in mud. Like it's just the best. And like that's entrepreneurship. The Savage Race to me is just like it's a metaphor for going through opening a business.
Hmm. Yeah, that's amazing. I never thought about it that way.
Yeah, and yours, like I've looked at your stuff, and like you said, the pandemic hit you hard because like you said, I can tell when I go into a Savage Race that you care. I can tell that the obstacles are not just thrown together. Someone cares about what this thing feels like. It's not like we're trying to do as many races as possible and make as much money as possible. You actually are creating an experience, which is why we did a Savage Race once and we want to do one every year after we did it. And it's also why I can tell that like it hit you harder during this because you created a real community, right? Like the people in my gym and my orbit, I've realized that I don't want to segment my life where this is business and this is family. Like I want it all to just be together as one. And like that's that's your business. So like it hits you harder when something like that happens because you could have just told everybody Savage Race is done,
Yeah.
right? Like I'm broke. Like I don't know what to tell you. Your money's gone. But
Yeah.
you know them people. You've looked them in the eyes, you shook their hand, and you know what it does for their life. So you can't just go away. I should have done that. I opened a second location February 2020. I should have closed that location the minute it opened because nobody would have cared. Everybody would have been like, "Of course you did. It was pandemic." But what that gym has done over the last 5 years has changed and probably saved 500 lives,
So it's still open.
just
Yeah.
but yeah.
Wow.
But you've looked these people in the eyes, right? That's the difference between you and like maybe some of the ones that just they probably just closed. Like, oh, we're not gonna make money this year, so close it.
Yeah. I mean, you can't, and you don't know what they went through. It may have been
No.
much different, but, and like, it may have been the right decision for them, but yeah, man. I feel for, and, we were very fortunate. Most of our biggest races are in Florida and in Georgia and
Mhm.
a couple other states that, you know, when COVID happened, there was, I didn't know this was going to be the COVID show, but let's talk about it. I mean, when COVID happened, there were some states that were much more open to business than others, right? So like,
Yeah.
fortunately, Florida, I mean, I don't know if you remember, but like when Florida was just like bringing events from all over the country here because like, hey, we'll have them. If you're shut down everywhere else, we'll have them. So, you know, I think if we had been like, say, we had been headquartered in like California or New York or something, like they wouldn't have let that happen. There's
Yeah,
no
you
way.
probably wouldn't have had a choice. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
By the way,
yeah,
where are you located?
we're in Atlanta.
Okay. So
Yeah.
Georgia was another one. I mean, at least where we were and out in Paulding County, which is sort of on the outskirts of Atlanta. I mean,
Hmm.
they didn't have a problem with us continuing.
Yeah. So you said you've started another business,
Yeah.
and then Savage Race obviously is. Have you have 14 races coming up this year too? So
Yeah, 13 or 14. I can't
13
remember
or
what.
14.
Yeah.
Cool.
Mhm.
So what is the future for Savage Race, and what's the future for you? Like, what are you excited about now?
Yeah. So, the future for Savage Race is, I don't really have a goal to grow this thing into like to be the size of Spartan and have 200 events. I kind of like where we are, because I want to keep this sort of like it's our company, like it's a small company. We have a tight knit team. I'm not trying to make this like a big corporation, a huge
Hmm.
corporation. So, really, my goal is to keep it kind of the same size it is. If we can add a couple of events, that's good, and really grow the base that we have. So like make the events that we already have, get more people out to them. Um, and I'm older now. I'm 43. Like when I started Savage, I was in my late 20s, I think. And now that I have a family, like, and as a business person, like to start a business, like, dude, I was like you said, I was 20 hours a day, 7 days a week, working my ass off all the time. Um, now I have really great people on my team that can handle a lot of these things. I mean, I'm still full time, but it's not, it's not like startup grind mode
Hmm.
anymore. I can't do that now that I have kids.
Right.
So that's my goal. I want to keep things going. I have a lot of personal goals now because, another thing we didn't really talk about, going back to like the theme of starting a company, is oftentimes when people start businesses, they're solely focused on, and you did bring this up, you're solely focused on that business to the detriment of other things. So like for
Right.
me, like I was always really into fitness before I started my businesses, and I mean that got me into, that's why I did the Warrior Dash, because I was like really into CrossFit back then, and that was my CrossFit gym wanted to do that. But then once I started the business, I was so focused on the business that like my fitness went out the window and I gained weight. I was drinking a little bit too much, you know what I mean? And so now I'm trying to come, the pendulum swinging back. I'm like, no, I mean, like, I'm not sacrificing my life for this business. Like, I don't want to die early because of this business. And so, um, I'm really getting into jujitsu and weightlifting and, trying to stay true to that fitness journey that I started a long time ago. I kind of put a pause on while I built the business, but now it's like, no, I'm gonna do this stuff. I'm gonna get back in
Hmm.
really good shape. And I'm gonna sign up for jujitsu tournaments and go like kick people's ass. Like that's what I want to do. I want to
Hmm.
go to my Savage Race events. I don't know if you knew this. I put a challenge out to anyone who comes to a Savage Race event. If they can show up and grapple with me and submit me, that I'll give them a free ticket to a race.
Oh,
So
that's cool.
anyone out there can get a free ticket to a race. All you got to do is choke me out, tap me out, and I will fight you.
I
So,
love it.
I've been doing that at the events actually in the festival area. So I've had a couple takers. I actually had one guy. Um, I put it out online. Listen to this. I put it out online. There was some guy that figured out what gym I worked out at. He was like 2 hours away. He drove to an open mat at my gym and I get a text from my coach. I wasn't even going to go that day. He's like, "Hey, there's like some guy here. He wants to fight you. He's from Jacksonville, and yeah, he looks pretty tough. He's like a brown belt. I'm a blue belt, so he's like
Yeah.
several belts higher than me." And I'm like, gives me the name. This guy was like a professional fighter. I'm like, oh shit. So I
Yeah.
go, but hey, he showed up, so I went down there and he got his free race pass. But
I thought you were gonna say, and he didn't get a race pass. I kicked his
no, he
ass.
did. He was the nicest guy. He was the nicest guy, super humble. But man, he was I mean, he was a professional bare knuckle boxer. And he was a brown belt in jiu-jitsu. We threw down. I think I got him one round and he got me one round, and it was like, hey, you did it. So
That's
he
cool. Are you gonna be coming up to the Georgia race in March?
yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
cool.
Right, you wanna
Nice.
grapple, man?
Oh, hell no. No,
You
no,
got
no.
you got some time to train.
We could do some kind of fitness race,
How
but
big
nothing.
how
I
big a
can't do any
how,
of that.
how big a boy are you?
No, I'm not big, and I'm not big enough, and I don't fight. So yeah, it would not be good. I'll pay for my pass.
Okay, all right, fair enough.
I, I would kick your ass, but I just want to support your business. You know what I mean?
Okay,
That's just the kind of guy
yeah.
I am.
When I say kick ass, it's in a nice way, you know.
Yeah, yeah, that's
It's like
fun.
combat cuddling or something, you know.
That's awesome. Yeah, so it sounds like you found just more balance, and like the thing that this is my podcast is about is I think the pursuit is the happiness, right? So like I'm not trying to find happiness at the end. I want to find it along the way. And it sounds like that's what you're doing more now than you've ever done. And I guess maybe it's just as you mature and have kids, maybe that's what you need. You know what I mean? If I was 20 and listening to this, I'd probably be like, shut up, I'm trying to get rich, you know?
No,
But
but you know, hang on, I wanna speak to that. So like, I honestly think that 20-year-old you is right. You know, it's like the 20-year-old me. If I had tried to say when I started Savage Race, hey, I'm gonna kind of like work 40, 50 hours a week. I'm gonna go to the gym all the time. I'm gonna like pursue these hobbies. It's like, yeah, right. You're never gonna make it. So like,
yeah,
I don't want to like lie and say that like there's no place for the grind. Like I think that
yeah.
when you're starting a business, like sometimes you got to grind, and that's part of it. But like it takes a big toll, and you probably aren't going to be able to grind your whole, you know, I'm going on what 14, 15 years or something with Savage Race. Like you can't just like grind like that forever and not expect for it to cause issues. So
Oh yeah. I mean, like even today, like everything that you're talking about, nothing's easy. It's all hard work. Like you're not doing easy things. You're finding ways to challenge yourself. My thing that I want to do is I want to just keep making sure I don't miss the moments that I've worked so hard for, and celebrate it along the way, right? Like
100%. Yeah.
you can jump ahead and be like, well, I'm not where I want to be, so it doesn't matter. And I think that's something that I wish I could tell my 20-year-old self. Not don't keep working in it, because the fondest memories are in the grind, right? I still look back fondly and remember mopping the floors every day and waking up at 3 o'clock and getting back to the gym. I still remember all that stuff, but um, I think just enjoying them moments of when you've put a big event together and everybody shows up, not being like, well, the next one's going to be bigger. No, just enjoy it for a second with the team that are here now, So
Totally.
awesome. Well, we have there's 25% off right now for people that are looking to train 25, March 29th. Anybody that's watching from Oxfit, make sure you get signed up for the Savage Race. We're all going to go and do it together as a team. If you want to run off and leave as you can, but that's kind of messed up. We want to get through them obstacles together. And we're going to have some fun. If anybody wants to wrestle Sam, then you can wrestle
Yeah.
Sam.
Yeah.
And
If anyone's made it this far into the podcast, I think they've probably already signed up. but
they better have
but
signed up. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, thank you. Like I tried to find any other podcasts with you, describing the history of Savage, and I couldn't really find one. So I think hopefully, I got some good info for people out there
Yeah,
that
this
like
was
Savage
fun, man.
Race.
It's been
But
so long since I've had a conversation like this, and it's cool that you're a business owner too, so you understand. It seems like you really understand that,
yeah,
not everyone really gets it, because it's like it's one of those things that until you put yourself in that place, it's like you don't know what it's like. So I had a
yeah.
really
Well,
good time talking to you today, man.
good. I'd love to do it again sometime. And yeah, great to meet you. And I look forward to meeting you in person in March.
Okay. All right, let's do it.
All right.
Thanks, Ant.
Thanks, Sam.
See you later.
See you.